What if the worst moment of your life became the launchpad for something the world would eventually admire? In 2020, while every airline on the planet was hemorrhaging money and grounding fleets, one man was doing the exact opposite, ordering new aircraft, hiring staff, and preparing to fly. His airline had no history, no loyal passengers, and no inherited brand. It was born on a small island of just 23 million people, in a market already served by 2 established carriers. That man was Chang, and the airline was STARLUX. In just 5 years from its very first commercial flight, STARLUX became one of only 11 airlines in the world to hold a 5-star Skytrax rating, the fastest any carrier has ever achieved that distinction in aviation history. This is the story of how a fired executive, a sealed will, a family feud, and a relentless vision produced one of the most remarkable airlines ever built. The empire behind the airline. To understand STARLUX, you first need to understand the dynasty that shaped its founder. In 1989, a man named Chang, already one of Taiwan's most celebrated industrialists, decided his empire needed to reach into the sky. He had built the Evergreen Group from a single cargo ship in 1968 into one of the largest container shipping operations on Earth. You might recognize the Evergreen name. It was an evergreen vessel, the MV Ever Given, that blocked the Suez Canal in March 2021, halting global trade for 6 dramatic days. Chang launched EVA Air as Taiwan's second major carrier, entering a market dominated by the state-backed China Airlines. By the early 2000s, EVA had earned a strong reputation, a modern fleet, solid North American routes, and a beloved Hello Kitty-themed Boeing 777 service that became a pop culture phenomenon across Asia. EVA was profitable, respected, and growing. But what happened next would split the Chang family irreparably in two. Chang, the son, who started at the bottom. Chang was born in 1970 as the only child of his father's second wife. In a culture where eldest sons inherit empires and younger sons are quietly sidelined, KW was never expected to lead anything significant. What he did with that reality was remarkable. Rather than leveraging his family name into a corner office, he chose to start from zero, as a maintenance technician at EVA Air, in 1996, fixing planes on the tarmac. He then earned commercial pilot licenses, becoming type-rated on the Boeing 777, the Airbus A321, A330, and later the A350. He also obtained a US FAA aircraft maintenance certificate by the time his father appointed him EVA's chairman in 2013 at age 43. He had become widely described as the first airline chairman in Taiwan to simultaneously hold both maintenance engineering licenses and commercial pilot type ratings. That combination would become the DNA of everything he built next. The family coup that changed everything under KW's leadership. EVA flourished. He flew scheduled flights as a line captain, sometimes unannounced, to the genuine surprise of passengers who discovered at the gate that the company chairman was in the cockpit. He expanded EVA's North American network, turned the Hello Kitty branding into a worldwide story, and in 2013 secured EVA's long-pursued Star Alliance membership. But behind the success, a personal war was brewing. When Chang passed away in January 2016, his sealed handwritten will named KW as sole heir to an estate worth approximately 14 billion new Taiwan dollars, roughly $433 million US dollars, plus leadership of the entire Evergreen Group. His 3 older half-brothers refused to accept it. In March 2016, while KW was piloting an EVA flight to Singapore, the board voted him out as chairman. By the time his wheels touched down, his career at the airline he'd built was finished. Taiwanese media called it a palace coup. They called him Prince Hamlet. The legal battle over the will ran for 8 years, ending in August 2024 when Taiwan's Supreme Court confirmed the inheritance was his alone. STARLUX is born. 3 decisions that rewrote the rules. Back in 2016, KW had none of that money yet, only expertise, personal capital, and a decision to make. On May 2, 2018, STARLUX Airlines was officially registered. The name draws from 2 Chinese characters, the stars his father navigated by, and the universe KW claimed as his own. The founding slogan was poetic, born with luxury, shining like stars. 3 core decisions set STARLUX apart from every airline startup of the previous 2 decades. First, he refused the low-cost model entirely. Every Asian carrier of the past 20 years had chased budget travelers, but STARLUX offered 4 cabin classes, including first class with private suites, sliding doors, and 83-inch seat pitch. Second, he placed the largest single Airbus order in Taiwanese history, 17 A350XWBs, plus A330neos and A321neos. Third, he hired BMW Design Works, the studio behind Rolls-Royce interiors, to craft the cabin experience, including custom music, a bespoke cabin fragrance, and original crew uniforms. When tickets went on sale in December 2019, the first 3 routes sold out in just 11 minutes. Launching into a pandemic and surviving it, then the world stopped. COVID-19 arrived within weeks of STARLUX's inaugural flight, captained personally by KW Chang on January 23, 2020. From Taipei to Macau, by March, all operations were suspended. When service resumed in June, only 3 weekly flights remained. Many analysts concluded STARLUX was a casualty of catastrophic timing, but KW did not pause. He kept accepting aircraft deliveries, kept training crew, and converted passenger jets into belly cargo operations, flying semiconductor shipments across the world during the global supply chain crisis. While established airlines retrenched, STARLUX quietly grew, its first A330neo arriving in February 2022, its first A350-900 that October, and its Los Angeles route launching in April 2023. By 2024, annual revenue reached 35.55 billion new Taiwan dollars, up 58% year. Trailing 12-month revenue through Q3 2025 surpassed 42 billion new Taiwan dollars, approximately $1.34 billion US dollars, with a net profit margin of 3.7%, modest but real, and earned without a single decade of inherited brand loyalty. 5 stars, an IPO, and the road ahead. In June 2025, at the World Airline Awards in Paris, STARLUX received its Skytrax 5-star certification just 5 years after its first flight, a record no airline had ever set before. Only 11 carriers on Earth hold that title, and STARLUX now stands beside Singapore Airlines, Qatar Airways, ANA, and Cathay Pacific. EVA Air, by comparison, took 27 years to earn the same rating. In October 2024, STARLUX completed its IPO on the Taiwan Stock Exchange, raising 9.4 billion new Taiwan dollars, with KW retaining around 27.5% of shares. The fleet, 28 aircraft, all Airbus, averaging just 3.2 years old, the youngest wide-body fleet in the world. Expansion continues at pace. On January 15, 2026, STARLUX launched a non-stop to Phoenix route, the first ever direct flight between Arizona and Asia, anchored by TSMC's $165 billion investment in Phoenix chip plants. On August 1, 2026, the first European route to Prague will follow, with Milan expected before year's end. STARLUX is positioning itself as the premium link of the global semiconductor corridor stretching from Phoenix to Hsinchu to Central Europe, targeting 53 aircraft by 2029. The risks, the rivals, and the legacy still being written. The picture is not without shadows. STARLUX's profit margin has compressed to roughly 0.6% on a trailing 12-month basis. The airline carries a debt-to-equity ratio of 2.3, leases rather than owns its fleet, and has never survived a full economic cycle without crisis support. And the geopolitical risk is impossible to ignore. STARLUX's entire operation depends on a hub in Taiwan, at the most watched flashpoint in global politics. One serious crisis could end everything overnight. Competitors are circling. Emirates and Singapore Airlines are studying STARLUX's premium model. Cathay Pacific is lobbying against its One World application. EVA Air is reportedly preparing its own 5-star bid. Chang turns 56 in September 2026. He still flies as a captain on his own airline. He still wears the same badge as every other STARLUX employee, the one that reads, "Safety is our attitude." He has said nothing publicly about revenge. He has not tried to buy back EVA Air. He has simply kept flying and building, until an airline that should never have existed became one of the best in the world. Thank you for watching the World Documentaries. If this story moved or inspired you, hit the like button and subscribe. It helps us keep bringing stories like this to you. Have you ever flown STARLUX? Would you consider it? And which story of resilience would you like us to cover next? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd genuinely love to hear from you.